Talk about how to solve the LeetCode problem, shortest palindrome. So before we started to coding, I want to talk about an algorithm called KMP algorithm, which is kind of a key point to solve this problem. So what a KMP algorithm is basically we have, for example, we have this kind of string here, and we want to find, want to generate a kind of pattern that that can conclude which substring has been shown before. So what I mean is, the KMP algorithm can generate a pattern of both the prefix and the suffix. So let's see how this algorithm works. So basically we want to generate a, let's say, array or a list of this whole pattern, and let's take some index nodes first. So the index of this string would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sorry, brain stroke. 7. Oops, not this color. 7, 8, 9, 10. Right. So we want to initialize 2 pointers. So the first one, let's say call it J, and the other we call it I. So let me illustrate it clearly. So basically we want to initialize the 2 pointers. One is where the string begins, which is the 0, 1, and the other will stay at, we can also start with 0, but at this time, for better understanding, I will start it from 1. So it's pretty clear, right? So if the string we only have one character, basically the whole character will just be 1, and the pattern would just this one, and there would no repeat after this character. Yeah, sure. So let's start the algorithm. So basically for this pattern list, we want to initialize it with -1 or any other number, like infinite number you will like. It's just to mark that in this index is not repeated before, because we know that it's the first character and it would not repeat before, right? So we want to check if the if the pointer J and pointer I, what they pointed, has the same character. So for now they are not the same. So we mark the I as -1, and we started to, since they're not the same, and we just want to move I to the next one, and they're not same again, so we mark it as -1, and we still just move this pointer. But now we can see that it's interesting to see they are now the same, right? Both of them are A. So what we do now is to mark this position of we mark this position of the pattern array or list as the j's position. Yes, right. So the j now is at 0, so it's 0. And since they're the same, we can start to move them together. Yes, this is the interesting part. Yes, move both of them to the next one, and we can now see that they're still the same, right? So since they're the same, we just mark it with j's position, which is 1. Oops, sorry, wrong color. 1, right? And now we continue moving them. And next, we found that they're not the same at this time. So what we do? What we do is we need to move j to the beginning, because they're not the same. The pattern didn't go on at this point. So, but how can we adjust the j's position? What we do is to find, we found that j's position is actually j's minus 1 is this position, and we found this index value here, and it's minus 1, right? But we actually want to move our j in to pattern j minus 1 plus 1, which is so this is the pattern j minus 1. So we want to move it to j minus 1 plus 1, which here is, we can see here is minus 1 and plus 1 would be 0, and so we move our j to index 0. Yeah, that's how this works, right? And we move j back to the index 0, and now we put I as minus 1. Because there is no pattern here, right? The pattern didn't continue this way. So next we still gonna move the I to the next, which is the next index is 6, and now we found that again they are the same, right? So yeah, what we do is, as said before, we mark it as j's index value. Mark the pattern, yes, to 0, and we started to move them together because they're the same, right? So yeah, let's move, and still they're the same, and we mark this pattern I with j value, which is 1, and still move them together. Oops, it's a little inconsistency. Let's move here, right? Yeah, the I is 0.28.2, yes. And we can see now they're still the same, so we mark this position as j's value, where j is, which is 2, and continue move them. Oops, sorry. Never mind, I just And again it's the same, and now it's 3, and again move them together. Perfect, they're still the same, so now we mark them as 4, right? So we can see now this process is just the time complexity is just O of n, where n is the length of this string, because after all we move the pointer I just once throughout the string. Yeah, so and and here is our pattern array, right? So how are we gonna apply this algorithm to this problem, this palindrome problem? So yeah, what we see now is we can see this algorithm help us to identify the prefix and the suffix in the same string, which we can see that here. So we can see that the suffix this string is the same as this string, right? So what did it tell us? So we want to find what's the longest palindrome from 0, which is so if we take this example, so if a string is a palindrome, it means when it turned backwards, it would be the same. So if it is a palindrome, we can see that we can clearly see that this string is a palindrome, right? And here it's also a palindrome. So that is how we can apply this algorithm to this problem, is to find the longest palindrome starting from index 0. Alright, so what we do now is basically the same algorithm from the example above, is to get this pattern first, and we can get the suffix. We can get the suffix length, which is also the prefix length in the final position. And we can see now is the length is 4, and so yeah, we can apply this algorithm same to this problem. So first of all, I want to implement the KMP algorithm first. So what we do is to let's say we make KMP get pattern. Let's say we call it that, and we have a string s. And first of all, we want to initialize the 2 pointers, which is one is j and the other is I. So j we put it as 0 and I we put it at 1. So next is we kind of started to loop this string. So we will stop. We will use a while loop, and we will stop when I get to the end of this string. So it will be less than the length of the string. And so the first situation is if the string j equals to string I. We know that in this case we want to mark the pattern. Oops, sorry, we want to initialize the pattern first. So for the pattern, we can, let's say, mark it with -1 for all of them, and it's and the length should be the same as the string's length. So okay, let's get back to here. So after we have this situation of where j is and where I is the same, and the pattern where I should equals to j, and we want to move them together, which is I +1 and j also +1. So if so this is basically the most important situation. And what if they're not the same? So if they're not the same, I think here is a situation where j is equals to 0. If j is still in 0 and they're not same, j shouldn't go nowhere. So yeah, so when j is greater than 0, we should move j back to we can see here, right? We move j back to j -1, this value plus 1, which is j -1 and +1, correct. And finally, but we do not move I in this at this time. So finally we got which is we should move I, still move the I. So if j equals to 0, yeah, I think well, yes, correct. So if j greater than 0, we move j back to where it was and start to compare where the new j and the old I, right? The I didn't go anywhere. The I didn't move at this point. Oh, yeah, right. And finally, we want to return this pattern. And yeah, so let's see if we can test this function first, to see if it works. And we want to print p here. Yes, we can see that we can see here we got a pattern, and we want to take the last number of the pattern, which is the suffix length, and Palindrome equals to p minus 1, and we want to return so we can see that here we have this palindrome already, and we just want to make up the last character in the front of this string here, right? So what we do is to take the last characters, which is longest. It should work this way, and also we want to reverse that because we want to make it as palindrome, and we want to add the original string, and I think that's it. Let's see if it works. Oops, it's not. Oh, it should +1 because it should not be the last. It should not include the last. It should not include the last character. It should start from the next character. Let's see how it works. Yeah, it works this way. Let's see if it can pass all the test cases. Yes, we can see it passed these cases, and this is how we solve this problem.